right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the July 11th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Sandy?
Sandy Slavin.
Okay.
Bernie Pigeon?
Bob Scanlon?
Pete Dunlop.
Jim Gibberti. We have a quorum. We have no minutes at the moment, and we have no pending minutes. I've been informed we have no abatements that are due.
Well, theoretically, you can say 627 is pending since we don't have it.
Yeah, that's true, okay. 27th is pending. Sewer Commissioners, moratorium memorandum.
Keep going, Biden.
There's been a discussion on that, regarding re-voting the moratorium, the lifting of it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a copy of the memorandum you're referring to.
No, I don't either.
The one we have is dated June 8th, 2021, that recommended the moratorium. We don't have anything to say, the numbers to indicate why it was lifted. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
A formal
Yes,
acknowledgement that we have the capacity and therefore we're lifting it?
correct.
Because we just had a discussion.
yes, we did. We had discussion and verbal input from both the superintendent and GHD, indicating that we had the capability to do it, and therefore we did it.
And Mr. Chairman, on item B, revoke conditionally lifting the memorandum, I take issue with that in that it's my opinion that this body voted in its entirety to impose the moratorium, then a like vote should take place to lift the moratorium. That is to say, there's all 5 commissioners voted to impose, and all 5 of the full vote should to vote to lift. I would suggest that's, from my opinion, the appropriate protocol considering the importance of such action.
So you want to revote?
I want the whole board to vote yes.
You want to revote? Okay.
I don't want to revote. I vote to lift the moratorium, and I don't have any documentation. Well, I have something.
Well, there was a
technical-
quorum that voted for it.
Beg your pardon?
There was a quorum that voted.
Oh, it's 5 votes that voted for it.
There was a quorum that voted to lift the moratorium.
Yes, and I'm, in my opinion,
No.
the
There
original.
was a quorum. 3's a quorum. There's no opinions.
No.
Bernie is saying it has to be 5, since 5
Five
voted
voted to impose.
implement a moratorium. He thinks 5...
Show me that in some sort of rules of law.
I can't find it in, you know,
I feel
A quorum's a quorum.
I
We
feel
had it, we voted.
the appropriate protocol is that all 5, the full board vote again. So the revote, from my point of
You want me to
view,
make a motion?
is invalid.
Yep.
I make a motion, we lift the moratorium conditionally.
the last time we voted, we had conditions as to what was being lifted. You want to repeat those?
Residential.
Well,
Well, would you care to read it, what we,
I'm trying to find it.
residentials and any commercials would be looked at individually?
The motion was that we lift the moratorium effective 6/13/24 on residential, single-family, and B, and
40Bs.
40Bs. That was the motion. That was it.
So moved.
Is there a document from GHD for their recommendation? Was one submitted?
No.
And I don't know the conditions in which you're going to lift the moratorium. You imposed the moratorium based on the recommendation from GHD. I would expect the recommendation also from GHD to subsidize or to...
I'm going to have Mark will
I want to
speak
see
to,
a
Mark will
report.
speak
I
to
don't need
that.
a verbal one.
Excuse
All due
me, Mark will
with all
speak,
due respect,
Mark will
Mark.
speak to that. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I-
just introduce yourself, Mark.
So, we had originally recommended that the town do a couple of things, a couple of improvements at the facility, as well as to implement a planning process. And I sent in a memo within the past week that indicated that those recommendations, had been completed by the town. So we originally didn't recommend a moratorium. We recommended that the town
You
do certain
advised
things. Right,
considering-
we advised that you should be careful with additional flows and that you should do certain things. You have done those things now. I did send a draft in. I mean, it's probably,
And who did the draft go to? Who did the draft go to? Because we haven't seen anything.
all right, so we'll have to make sure you have it in the next meeting, so.
Please do, yeah.
And it will no longer be a draft, it will be a formal final.
The final, could I ask, so I will tell you what it says is that the town has accomplished the recommendations that from the original memo. So that's how it was concluded. It doesn't have recommendations about, residential or 40Bs or anything like that. I just concluded that you've done what was originally recommended.
Yes.
And so,
And that was the equalization basins, 3 and 4 are online, and the new denitrification filters are installed. Those were the two recommendations from 2021, and your letter will say those have been completed, therefore,
correct.
we can handle additional flow.
That's correct, as
So-
well as the fact that, so another important item is that if you hit 80% of your permitted capacity, you have to submit a report to EPA about how you're going to handle additional flows. And now that you've implemented a planning process, you can respond to that.
Is that 80% every day, or is there 80% over a time
I
frame?
think it's for the year.
Wait a minute, excuse me one second. In this memorandum you sent out here that we have coming up, the technical memorandum, I believe you addressed that particular issue in the last 2 lines of it.
That's the
Next
one
page,
from
Bob, Jerry.
2021.
Next page.
Yeah,
I think Bernie wants to,
that's the town is
I want
completed.
it right there.
Yeah,
I wanted one that's dated 2024.
So this one that Jim just handed me is 2024.
really? We don't have that.
Yes, you
can
do.
Read it.
Next page.
No, read the dates on the top, right?
Oh, it says revised.
June 8th, 2021.
Rewrite, what's
Revised.
it say right below it?
That was the original issue.
Oh, July 7th, 24. How do I know what's the revised? Sorry, if I look at this, is it the bolded stuff is the new stuff, or the high?
oh my frickin'
How do I tell what's new?
So, what I
Biden
was trying to
doing in
do is
minute now?
keep a record of why why the issue came up. The big change was really at the very end that talks about the recommendations and what you've accomplished. Okay, so I wanted to maintain a little bit of history.
Yes, because the original, as the minutes show, when I think it was Russ did the presentation, it went on for 2 or 3 pages as far as the discussion of various issues are concerned. And here we have a page, let's say, and I would prefer to see something more detailed as to the volumes, et cetera, that we're now capable of processing.
Can we go back to the 80%? Is it 80% over 6 months, 2 weeks,
I
1 day?
believe it's for a year.
So if we're 90 on one day and 70 on the other, we're still averaging 80.
Correct.
It's over the court,
I mean, so there's sometimes I can be over 90 as long as I'm under 70 other times.
According to the standard in the permit, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so thus the town has completed the primary recommendations that were suggested to be completed prior to taking in more flow. That's the last sentence.
Right.
You want more, Bernie?
I'd like to study this more before, I'm not going to vote tonight.
It's okay, we can.
These are engineering.
Okay, then I withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
Okay, table for the next meeting. Okay. The only reason I put the EDU update, I just want to make it clear that our discussion at the last meeting was that an EDU, for the purposes of the Wareham Sewer Department, is residential, up to a 3-bedroom home will constitute an EDU.
You're referring to, Jimmy, talk to your mic better, please.
No,
I'm having a tough time hearing Jimmy.
I'm sorry,
AC is on.
No, yeah, I keep forgetting that. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We determined that an EDU is equal to, in residential terms, up to a 3-bedroom home. Any additions, bedroom-wise, to that, we would be charging a 0.2 increase. Bob and I talked with Rich about this, and essentially he said we can do it unless there was a regulation opposing it or saying something else. There are no regulations that we can find anywhere on anything. So I believe our original charge in the first place is we set rates. Well, this is setting rates.
And
So-
our original motion from May 23rd says, as of 5/23.
Right.
So anybody who's putting in a brand-new dwelling or adding a bedroom to an existing 3-bedroom will have a .2 for each bedroom over 3.
Correct. Peter?
In your conversation... with-
Peter?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Did you ask Rich my question about, are we locking ourselves into considering a bedroom .2 EDUs? And could that backfire on us? And somebody like me that has 1 bedroom now wanting an abatement because I only have .2 EDUs.
Interesting.
So even with one,
That was why I wanted the legal question.
did we get an answer?
He didn't have a problem with us going up .2 EDUs, and there was some discussion whether it would even be .3 EDUs, but
I still think by designating a bedroom as .2 EDUs,
Increase over 3.
you're designating a bedroom. You're now calling a bedroom .2 EDUs. People with 2-bedroom houses are going to be coming in looking for an abatement because they only have .4 EDUs.
Instead of you paying 1 EDU,
agree.
you want to only pay .2 EDU.
Excuse me?
You pay an EDU now. Because you have 1 bedroom, you only want to pay .2 EDU, which
That-
means...
what- I didn't
means a
say that's
point-
the case. I said I want to make sure
I know,
that
but-
that doesn't come back on us in that direction.
Because you're saying, yes, well, okay.
It opens the door.
But we never said that a bedroom was .2, we just said in excess of 3.
But we just...
You're designating a bedroom as .2 EDUs. You're doing it, I
Okay,
understand,
another way of putting...
is adding it.
Okay, another way of putting 4 bedrooms equals 1.2 EDU. 4 bedrooms is a 1.2 EDU.
Because the house is 1 and the added bedroom is .2?
Didn't say that. If you have 4, if you have a new house with,
But
yeah,
that's the way it could come out.
could very well be.
That's why I asked for the legal opinion. And
Peter, to piggyback on that, there's a level of discrimination because I'm giving you the right to build an extra bedroom on your home, but I have 5 storefronts down at Wareham Crossing that could use.
This only applies to residential.
But
applies
you're
to residential.
discriminating because you're doing it for
Only applies to
residential.
residential.
But I have now commercial property that I want to have, and I got a nail salon that'll come in, and it'll give me 100 gallons more than I currently have or my previous tenant had.
We said that the commercial EDUs will be done in a workshop.
And you have to do the whole package, same
No,
time.
you don't have to do the whole package.
You have to do it, yeah.
Well-
Jimmy, I think you do.
Yeah, it's appropriate to do the whole package.
But
Scott's got something?
If I could, the original intent and the verbiage used was the term up to 3 bedrooms equals 1 EDU. And it was discussed at that meeting that that 1 EDU encompasses getting the infrastructure out to the one house with the 1 bedroom. Now, having 3 bedrooms, we're just saying that's a standard residence. Adding up to 4 and having these McMansions popped up,
You could do it.
they need to pay an additional service. And I know you stopped me last time. The intent is if we can evaluate the use of the additional .2 EDU on a 4-bedroom house, we can then go back and evaluate if, under certain circumstances with specific criteria to certain residences that are on a fixed income, meet a certain economic criteria, we could then evaluate abating those residences. But the term up to 3 bedrooms was utilized. Doesn't mean they have to have 3 bedrooms to be 1 EDU. We're saying up to 3 bedrooms is 1 EDU. Whether you have 1 or 3, it's 1 EDU. Because we have to get the pipe by your house anyway.
I have a 4-bedroom house and I want to put 1 more on. What's my new rate going to be?
1.4.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Now you're
wait.
privileged.
1.2, you're only adding 1
The
bedroom.
bedroom to the .2.
No, because under the
But
new
let me put it this way,
criteria,
Scott.
Wait, let
Under
him
the new
finish. Let
criteria-
him finish.
hold on, under the new criteria, your 1 EDU was up to 3 bedrooms. If you're changing the residence and adding a bedroom, you now fall under the new criteria.
But right now, you can have 5 bedrooms and still be 1 EDU.
And if you put a 6 on, you're going to fall under the new criteria, is what we've said.
But that
Going
depends-
forward, we said we weren't going to go backwards, but we
Okay,
can go forward.
okay. You are all the more defining a bedroom as .2 EDUs.
Disagree. I think what we're saying is a residence up to 3 bedrooms, 1, 0, or 3 bedrooms is 1 EDU.
Scott, as you're using it now, it's all a matter of semantics.
It's not semantics.
Yes,
This is
it's how
it's a
you
very
phrase
standard
it.
term
It's
used
how
up
you
to.
phrase it
I
on
agree.
paper as to how, now, Peter's got a valid point. You have a valid point. If we,
So we'll ask
We
Rich.
said-
I think we asked Rich that question.
yeah, but if we say 1 EDU is equivalent of 3 bedrooms, we've established
It-
a size, a criteria. If it's something different, because a 3-bedroom, okay, I now have a 4-bedroom. I don't have a 3-bedroom home. I have a 4-bedroom home, but I'm using my basis as a 3-bedroom, so each time you have a large than in the residential category now. Because you have to categorize now.
Yes, we said.
I can have 4 or 5 different versions of my master, which is 3 bedrooms. I can have a B&B in there also as a commercial, because I can charge them different, because now they're a different category. I'm now categorizing, defining each unit, and I'm charging them based on that category.
Again, the intent of changing the schedule was to begin to lift the moratorium for residential. And
Well, the objective is to make more money.
100%, we need the revenue. We need the revenue, we need to do it right, and if people want to come in and put McMansions up, go ahead, but there's going to be a cost after 3 bedrooms.
Scott, I totally agree with what you're trying to do. All I'm afraid of is if we don't get precise with the language, it's liable to backfire on us. I mean, I totally agree with what you're trying to do.
And I think that Rich can help us get there, but using the term up to and defining
Well,
one
I-
EDU as up to 3 bedrooms.
I think that's a question that should be left up to town council.
Agreed.
Yeah, you have to get the right language.
Agreed, so we'll drop it for now, but at the same time, we put it in
We'll
place.
put this
back in
whole
May.
thing on hold. I made a note to talk to Rich, try to see him this week, and get that particular specific question clarified. As
What
far
is
as
the question?
the question is whether or not .2 is this, we're defining a bedroom as .2 EDU.
Is that your question, Peter?
That's
That's pretty
essentially what it
close,
is.
yeah.
No, I'm just,
Yeah,
want to make sure he's
the college-
comfortable with the question you're going to
That's-
ask for.
That's,
that's all he's asking.
that's the basis for the argument, yes.
That's all he's asking.
Yeah. Quite
Our
valid.
motion is that it's up to 3-bedroom. As Scott indicated, 1, 2, or 3 is immaterial. It's up to 3-bedroom. We've determined that that is an EDU. Above that particular number, going forward, an additional bedroom would be an expense of .2 EDU additional. We are not going backwards. So it's everything going forward.
Come on, Robert, you're rather quiet there.
I was just thinking about a lot of different
Feel free to
things.
jump in the pool.
Well, I don't know if I want to or not. I understand Peter's point, and then going a step further, for the seasonal people that have a 1-bedroom home, but they're only here for 3 months of the year, you know, what do we,
For the first time, I agree with Bernie. The entire EDU thing has to be totally looked at.
Oh, it has to be, it's a question.
I think so.
But it's going to take more than sitting here right now.
Why a barber shop has to pay more than a beauty salon is beyond me. And I can't understand why a dry cleaners are charged EDUs by how many dry cleaning machines they have.
Or laundromats.
No, it says dry cleaner.
Yeah.
I didn't think they used water.
It doesn't say washing machines, it says dry cleaning machines.
Or each bay at an oil
I
changing
couldn't,
place has an
Sandy,
EDU.
the whole
The whole
thing.
thing, we really, really need to look hard at the commercial component of EDUs. Okay,
That'll be done in the workshop. That won't be done here. Okay. GHD, Sarah, instead of Mark.
Into the breach. Sarah.
Anything's better than Mark.
Hi, Sarah.
Thank you.
find a place to park?
I did, yes, yes. I had to fight some of the audience members out there for it, but I said, I have an urgent meeting to attend. They said, fine, I'll allow you in.
You've invited him.
I park next to you, I hope I don't get in trouble. You know, the area that's marked off, that if you had the handicap van for the door,
You should have opened my door, taken a handicap sticker out. Could've got
yeah,
another
then
one.
you'd get the ticket.
Good evening.
Good evening. So Sarah Greenberg, GHD, for the record. The first item on our update is the Headworks and Clarifier update. Yesterday, on July 10th, we received general bids for the Headworks and Clarifier project that went out to bid back in May timeframe. And we received 2 bids from 2 general contractors. And you'll see, and so there is an attachment that has all of the details, but most importantly, as you can see from the bids that came in, Waterline Industries is the low bidder. And so we are here tonight to let the commission know that the project budget is able to support the base bid and one alternate. And as such, we are recommending that the contract be awarded to the lowest bidder for the base bid and the alternate.
Okay. Just for clarity, WPCF Phase 2 improvements is for specifically?
Yes. The WPCF Phase 2 improvements is the title for the project that concerns the headworks and clarifier update and upgrade.
Headworks update and building new clarifiers?
Correct.
So one is a headworks update, and the other one is new clarifiers. One
Yes.
clarifier, two?
Too. Correct. So that project is for both of those items that you've just listed.
So the bid came in at, I mean, I got to look at the big one.
You can see that the base bid,
All the way down. the bottom.
$32,981,677.
correct, which is why we are recommending awarding only the base bid and alternate one. That is what the project budget can support. And in the
alternate-
letter, apologies.
Alternate one is the alkalinity improvements?
Correct. And so the base bid, just for clarity, for clarification, includes the headworks upgrade and the clarifiers, of course, even though it's not explicitly in that title.
And we put together 36 million for the project.
Correct. That loan needs to incorporate not only the contract awarded to the contractor, but a certain amount of contingency as required by the loan, as well as construction phase services agreement of the engineer, which is already approved through the town, as well as an owner's project management. So there are a lot of components that have to fit in that loan, just for clarity, which is why the recommendation is the base bid and the alternate one.
Do I have a motion to accept the recommendation?
So moved.
Low bidder?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So 400-500. That's water line.
Stay up here in case your voice needs.
Can't spend $36 that fast. I can't spend $36 that fast.
You need more practice. Call Paula.
She can afford it.
Okay. Now we have Mark.
Second choice to Sarah.
We're broke now, you know.
Is your mic on, Mark?
What's that?
Is your mic on?
It is. I have laryngitis, so I don't know if it could be.
I'm here for backup.
Well, one thing I'll add is that you got a really good contractor. That's a contractor that I've been working with for 15 years on similar projects, and they're just excellent. So it's very good. So there's actually a couple of topics I was going to talk about: CWMP, the grant application, and the TMDL. So those three topics. So I think the last time we were here, we were giving a presentation on the CWMP. So we collected comments from that meeting as well as a prior workshop that was attended by DEP, and we're using both of those to incorporate comments into a written document that is mostly written at this point, but we wanted to incorporate, what we collected from public meetings into that. A next step that we have is we need to have a meeting with MEPA, which is Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act. It's a department within the state that orchestrates the review of documents like this. We have to have a meeting with them in July to go over their environmental justice requirements, to make sure that going forward that we meet those requirements. They change from time to time, so prior to submitting to MEPA, they require that you meet with them. And so environmental justice includes disadvantaged groups within the town. So that's scheduled for, we're going to have a meeting in July, and I could provide another update, after we have that meeting. So we just recently submitted a grant application. It's a little bit of a clumsy term, but it's the Buzzards Bay Watershed Infrastructure and CCMP Support Grant Program. So it's a 100% grant opportunity. The focus of the grant application was on increasing the discharge to the river, which was a primary recommendation to increase your discharge capacity. And it's also going to set the stage for exploring other options. But for initially, it's to expand your current capacity, your current discharge capacity at its current location. This was identified as the most cost-effective way of incrementally increasing your discharge. So, so that grant application went in yesterday. And the third item is, within the past 30 days, a TMDL was issued for the Wareham River watershed. So a TMDL is a total maximum daily load. It's a reference to a nitrogen limit that was issued for the Wareham River watershed. There was a draft that was issued, I think, about 10 years ago. Within the past 6 months, there was a hearing that was held. Maybe it was last fall. Last fall, I think it was held. And the TMDL came out within the past 30 days. So what does that mean? That TMDL, this is going to be a strong term, but let me just talk about it. It essentially means the town is legally obligated to meeting that limit. Okay, that's what a TMDL is.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yep.
That study's completed?
So that TMDL has been issued. It's been issued in its final form. Yep.
We got that about a month ago.
Sometime within the past 30 days, I believe, yeah. So although you're obligated to attend to it, at this point, really all you need to do is to show progress, which you are doing as far as proactively doing a planning study, as well as this Phase 2 project is a recommendation of your planning study. It is working towards meeting the TMDL, so you are on a path to complying with that TMDL. So there's no other action you need to take right now. It's just something that you'll need to continue to adhere.
What is our target, and where are we now? Do they give you numbers?
Yeah, it's based on a concentration measured at what they call a sentinel station within the water body. So I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. I could tell you roughly. It's going to be something like 0.35 milligrams per liter of total nitrogen as measured in the...
Are we above it or below it?
You are currently above it.
So we're putting more nitrogen than they want us to.
Correct.
We now have to be able to prove to them we're taking steps to reduce that nitrogen.
Correct.
So Plymouth stop giving us all your septic systems. I mean, that water comes down
Yeah.
from up north of us, so everybody.
Yeah, that's
The
correct.
cesspool up north of us is contributing.
We're down here.
So I will say that as part of the planning study, we identified your portion of the nitrogen load within the watershed, and that's done through water use data. So each community that contributes would have to determine their amount. So you're only subject to your contribution.
How do you ever determine how much nitrogen to that point in where they're collecting it
How big a
came from
report?
Wareham?
How big is the
Let
report?
him worry about it. He's the engineer, not us.
So there are. See,
I asked the question.
Oh, it's a valid one.
so yeah, no, it's a
We're
good.
paying to eliminate nitrogen we're getting from outside our boundaries.
So in general terms, the state assigns a nitrogen concentration to each septic system, and that's in the whole southeast. So it's not a property by property analysis, but then we use that number and water use data to figure out how much Wareham's contribution is.
Okay.
And then you do the same thing with the other communities too.
Count the number of cesspools, they count the number of Title V's old version, the number of Title V's the new version, the number of birthday cakes, whatever that new one is, and
Layer
determine
cake,
that
yeah.
that's the contribution. Oh.
Yeah, so
Oh,
it's,
plus the watering of the grasses and what's coming off of
Agriculture.
agriculture.
so the analysis is narrowed down to just wastewater nitrogen.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that's the controllable, the more easily controllable part. So I get what, I understand the question. It's not a property by property analysis of everybody's nitrogen, okay?
Too detailed.
The analysis is, there's a group at UMass Dartmouth that has been spearheading, these MEP studies, and, there's a general consensus on the proper average nitrogen levels that are coming from septic systems, so.
Make a report.
I wish I could tell you it's a sizable report that the state put together,
A lot of pretty pictures and everything in it.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Thank
I've
you.
only looked at it
Well, I mean-
electronically, so I can't tell you.
Well, if it's that, because your CWMP is competing for size.
You're right, that's correct, yeah. Yes, I don't, honestly, I don't know how big the state report is, I've only read it electronically, so.
Can we bring it down to nitrogen for dummies size?
Just squeeze it down to one page, would you?
Yeah, but
Can't get it down to one page, no.
I believe it's
no.
only 100 pages, 101 pages.
So, okay.
I just
Oh,
want
now
to-
you're
I just want to-
talking.
So I will,
It's an evening.
I will say that every effort was made to fairly determine the amount that Wareham is responsible within the Wareham River watershed.
How are you doing that?
It's through,
You keep saying data or data, depending upon which side of the Charles River you were born on. Are you measuring it above the outfall pipe and below the outfall pipe?
so I don't know where I believe the state, the control point, if you will, is downstream of the effluent.
Well, I know I asked once before about, are they measuring it above the outfall pipe? And they said, yes, they were measuring it at the Sandwich Road Bridge. That's below it.
Okay.
And in order to get it upstream, you'd have to do it like at the Elks, at the Herring Run or something like that.
Yeah, but that wouldn't include the water coming down from the Wee Antic and stuff like that. So I'm sure they're doing in the middle of,
Why wouldn't it?
the Wee Antic doesn't flow into the Agawam. We're looking at all the water in Wareham, so more than likely there's a
Well,
point-
just a second. I thought we were just interested in the nitrogen from the plant.
No, we're talking
No.
about nitrogen,
No, the
total
whole-
contribution from the town.
So it's
From the town,
from
total,
the whole watershed,
everything,
right, which is
Plymouth,
the middle part of
Carver.
the town. Correct.
all of that is what they're measuring. Not
So
just-
what are you saying? We'd have to measure it?
No, the state knows where it's measuring, and that's the number we're getting. So more than likely, at some point off of Swiss Beach, way out there.
Right, it's gonna be-
way-
Yeah, but-
Way
But
down.
what would you have to do to get above it then? You'd have to go up above White Island Pond or something?
No, because you have, not all the water comes from rivers.
No, but he wants
Okay.
to know what other towns' contributions into
So where
our
would
waters.
you go up, above 195 on the Wee Antic? I mean,
Please,
Yeah, I want to understand your question. You want to know, how do you know the contribution from like Carver?
exactly.
So it's a desktop exercise. You determine the amount of properties that are contributing, so that you could,
So you're computing it, not measuring it.
Yeah, it's a formula.
yeah, right.
Correct.
Yep.
That's what I was afraid of.
the measurement is actual, but the contributions from the other towns is on a piece of paper.
But we're not measuring it, we're computing it.
No. Do they take some water at one particular point and measure?
So let me clarify one thing, okay? A piece of property that's in Carver could be discharging nitrogen that goes underground and makes its way into the river in Wareham, right? So it's a little bit, it's got to be a little bit of a desktop exercise, because if we measure it right at the town line, we may not catch some of the properties in Carver that are discharging. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but would they be measuring Wareham the same way, through data, or would they be physically measuring from the water?
So the state, when the state issues a TMDL, it's for the whole watershed. They come up with their own breakdowns, and then it's up to the consultants in the different towns to agree to that. And in general, we might use different methodologies, but we come pretty close.
It's all
So-
computer models.
So the state comes up with a plan, and then it's up to you representing us to agree to it. When will we see that from the state?
So I'll tell you why. So the data that was used by the state, I believe, comes from 2014 or earlier, or earlier. Okay? So we need to look at the state of the watershed today to find out how much the town has to remove. So all this data is a snapshot in time.
We've done some sewering since then.
Right, and we have to accommodate, and
Yeah,
we
okay.
have to do, there's pluses and minuses that go into this equation.
Yep.
So it's very a lot of this is going into the groundwater table, and it's going in different directions, and so out of necessity, it has to be a desktop analysis.
Sandy, a lot of this data is before the fact, not after the fact.
Wouldn't it be nice to go back in 2014? Okay. So you're looking at data that's 10 years old, and we've done some stuff.
And
Yeah.
so, but we have updated it. We've updated it based on, development, based on sewering. So we have updated that data. Because you don't have to meet the TMDL based on the 2014. You have to meet it going forward. So you have to comply with that number going forward, because that TMDL number that I gave earlier, and this is a rough number, 0.3 as an example, milligrams per liter, that is a number that represents a healthy state of the water body. So you have to continue to meet that. So,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if any town upstream is done desktop with data, then we should be done the same way.
yeah, so I don't know that Carver has done a CWMP, or that Plymouth has, or I forget who else is there. But, usually it's one community that starts, and then as the others make an effort, then you compare numbers.
Out of curiosity, with the TMDL, if the other areas, the other towns that feed into us haven't done a project like this,
Jimmy, can you move?
I'm sorry, if the other towns haven't done this project, what do we use for numbers in comparison to get an idea what we're actually contributing versus what they're contributing to us to change the basis, if you will?
So there was an original report done by the state. It's through the Mass Estuaries Project program. That would have been an initial division of responsibility, if you will, for the different contributors. Okay, so that would be a starting point. We did not update Carver numbers as part of your plan. We just looked at yours and updated what you would be responsible for. So it would take an effort on the part of that town to update their numbers.
I guess where I'm a little confused, Mark, is you take our numbers on that, those numbers include anything we're getting from the other communities,
So we
unless you've a
Yeah,
way
no,
to
we
extrapolate
exclude-
that
yeah,
out
yeah,
and net down to us.
Yeah, no, you are not responsible for Carver's numbers, for example, okay? Those are excluded from your responsibility.
And how do you get Carver's numbers, or what do you use for Carver's numbers?
So We have what I might need to do is come in and kind of show you in a little bit more detail, you know, but what, you know, we have the original breakdown that the state did. For the
Okay.
okay? And then what we did is take your piece and update it, taking out Seward areas, adding additional development. And there's always going to be some kind of a change,
Of course.
but you're not contributing 100%, so.
So we
Okay.
will not be held
So-
responsible to take care of someone else's nitrogen load coming from the north?
You will not.
Correct.
You will not. And, you know, right now, there's nothing to
Hard to
compel.
separate that out.
So there's nothing, so, let me just say one more quick thing. So the TMDL makes you legally responsible, but doesn't put you on a schedule. Okay?
Legally responsible, so
but-
we are.
You're responsible, but there isn't a schedule, okay? On the Cape, you've probably heard that the state has instituted a watershed permitting program. It only applies to the Cape right now. And that is the manner in which the state is putting those communities on a schedule to meet their TMDLs.
Defined schedule by the state to get their nitrogen down. We're not at that stage yet,
Correct, you are not.
because we've shown improvements.
So
from
you,
Wareham.
you are not on that schedule because the state excluded anybody but the Cape. So they excluded the islands and they excluded southeastern Mass. This just, right now,
You
the
go
water-
over the bridge and you're on a schedule.
you are on a schedule. Yes, yeah, you are.
But basically, if I'm hearing correctly, what you've said is, as long as we continue to make progress as we have been making progress, we're fine.
Yes.
And
Now,
we
I
just
just
have
can't
to
tell you that
continue to look at it.
the state still may
I-
institute
I-
a watershed permitting program, but as long
know.
as you're in a good position right
Yeah,
now. There's
it-
no reason for the state to come down on you.
Okay, so
We're making progress.
this is not a panic button push that we have to deal
No,
with at this point.
Exactly,
It's
it
just
is not. It is not. In fact-
continue on as we're going in the same direction,
Correct.
and we should be
In
okay.
fact, it makes you eligible for funding.
Yeah.
You know, right now, if you continue down this path, you could look at it as a good thing if this is what you want to keep doing.
Now, that's the grant that I've asked you to go after that I saw
Yep.
relative to this, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
I still look at it like we're New Orleans and we're getting the bill from Nebraska, Minnesota, and all of the rest of them coming down the Mississippi.
I promise you,
That's correct.
your responsibility is only what's coming from Wareham.
The trouble is that we got about 16 little rivers that all breed in to the Agawam and the Weweantic, and then all we're going to get is the total of those two. And all of the small tributaries from all of the counties or towns up north feed into all of these tributaries.
Anybody
So
in-
it's just like New Orleans paying for Nebraska and Minnesota.
Peter, what I would say is that any community that has a piece of the Wareham River watershed, they are contributing to it, and there's a calculation that can be made for that contribution.
Want to see how they measure that. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question, it's just a general, it's a little bit out there, but Carver, for example, the desktop data that they're using, I'm assuming in the simplest of terms, they'll say, we have 1,500 Title V septic systems. How do they calculate the improvements that they need to make? Would it be like Title VI septic systems coming online or replacing, Title V systems being upgraded so they'd be given better points, better scoring?
So they're going to be responsible for a certain amount of nitrogen reduction, okay?
Yeah,
And how that's accomplished, whether it's through everybody putting in an enhanced system, or just half the sites needing an enhanced system, or maybe they need a treatment plant, I don't know.
okay.
Right, so they would have to make that determination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cost-effective analysis on their part.
All right, thank you.
How good is our data if we go to the Board of Health, they know how many Title Vs have been installed. Do they know how many cesspools are still out there? There's probably no way of telling. I mean,
Yeah, but you take it
The only-
take it one step further. When they say a septic system is failing, they do it on the basis of how many times it's pumped. If your system is leaking, you're never going to have to pump it.
I'm trying to figure out where they go for the data. The Board of Health just has so much.
Let me clarify one thing. A cesspool and a Title V system don't remove nitrogen. Okay, so both of those systems are going to be
Failures.
in a
But
nitrogen
Title
sense.
V, unless it's the new nitrogen-reducing Title V.
That's
So
right.
the old Title Vs that have been around there for 10 years are pretty much not helping.
They're not helping with nitrogen, right?
So we now need everybody with a nitrogen-reducing telephone line and all the electricity that goes for having a brand-new nitrogen-reducing system. Very expensive.
Yeah, and actually, I believe
$70,000.
that may not
Is that
fix
how
the
much for a
problem.
system?
It's still,
That's Paula's system.
I mean, they're coming up with... I
$70,000.
heard of something called a birthday cake,
Yes.
a layering
Layer
one.
cake, layer cake.
A layer
yes.
cake.
Yes.
And so they're
Yeah.
looking at alternatives because they know that the Title V does not
Right.
get to the target they need. Okay, never mind.
That's correct.
Bedrooms does she have?
All right.
But your layer cake issue, Sandy, is very critical because it depends on how deep you go down to measure the flow.
Oh, well, I mean, I know that we've allowed some layer cakes on some homes off of Great Neck, and is a test site to see what is happening
Right.
off as it flows out, what the numbers are.
Yep. Yep.
How would they possibly measure that?
Take a look, they would be digging down and taking test pits, down flow of these
The
these
system you're
septic
talking about, Sandy, have any of those been tested down at Otis, where they do the
I
testing?
have no
on site?
idea. I'm
Yes.
sure,
Yes, they are.
there's a lot down there, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at one that's just down off of Great Neck that I know we put in.
They're all tested at the septic system test site.
Yeah.
But it's 3 feet tall. She gets water 2 feet up on it.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to the beach.
Okay. Scott, would you like to regale us with your wisdom?
Well, as I've been saying the last few times, the plant continues to improve. The crew is continuing to work exceptionally hard, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. The progress they're making. We've had to make some adjustments to the system to make sure it stays in compliance, but the system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Excuse me, Scott, for being a little apprehensive, but the last time I was down there, it seemed to be the most critical question was what kind of Sunday they're going to have for Friday.
That's an important question. We don't know yet.
Ice cream sundaes, huh?
Well, we'll find out. I don't know.
Is that posted, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, for the ice cream sundaes, the ice cream social we're having? 48-hour
That was
notice.
a critical issue.
Well, it's a 48-hour notice.
They ruled out hot fudge sundaes because of the weather.
Well, no, you don't rule out hot fudge sundaes. You just don't rule them out.
All right, Sandy.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, go right ahead, Peter.
Scott, I would like to publicly thank you for turning the morale around down at the plant. And I'd like to apologize to the workers for my part in not being able to do something for what they've been putting up with for the past 9 years. That they stuck through it, and even when the poop hit the propeller, they didn't leave the town hanging. I'm glad that they stayed, and I hope the ones that left because of it will reconsider. My second announcement is I'm giving up my position on the board effective immediately.
Oh, and- It's disappointing, Peter. I was looking forward to working with you continually.
All right.
Well, I'm sorry to receive this. I
That was very disappointing news. I think
don't
Peter
know what's behind this, so...
certainly had a influence on the board.
He saw things differently, and it was a good exchange to have a different viewpoint.
Very,
Yes.
very,
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
it was very constructive. He
Okay.
will be missed. His voice will be missed.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. The next meeting is scheduled for the 25th of July. And
You insist?
At 6:30?
I would like to do a workshop then, if it is agreeable to you all.
Fine by me.
See if I can squeeze you in.
When? On the 25th?
On the 25th.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll be unable to make that meeting.
Okay, then we'll leave it as it sits. Leave it as it sits then.
Louise has got me
Will you-
scheduled
will
for
you- Are you both able to make the evening
Englewood.
at 6:30?
I can, yeah, Alan.
Can you make 6:30?
I won't be, I'm not sure I'll be in town.
Okay, well, it's only my anniversary that day, but she can go do something.
Well, it depends on what you're serving for drinks.
All right.
Bob, can
Come
you
on,
make it?
okay. Without Peter, we have to designate someone to motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
No.
We're having our workshop.
Did you,
I don't think, did we put a time
We
and a
haven't,
date?
we haven't put a time and a date. I was gonna do it then, but I'll get back to everybody on that. I've gotta go over the calendar again.
yeah, we can do,
Other than that, I take a motion, we adjourn at 7:29.
Okay?
second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, Jimmy, I got a note from someone that